Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Entrepreneurial Presence. My name is Michelle Eisenberg, and I am a program assistant here at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the NASDAQ Center is a nonprofit building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by improving inclusion, access, and knowledge in entrepreneurship. So as you will see in the chat in a moment, the NASDAQ Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So definitely make sure to check out those links and resources in the chat. And then just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, let us know where you are dialing in from in the chat. We always love to connect. And second, we are going to open up for live Q&A at the end of the event. So please make sure to submit your questions for us in that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation, and we will try our best to get to all of them. And of course, none of what we do could be possible at the center without all of the amazing support from our sponsors, including NASDAQ, Lehigh University, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Wells Fargo, the Nareet Foundation, Walmart.org, JP Morgan Chase, BPM, HubSpot for Startups, and Google Cloud. We are humbled by their contributions and hope you are grateful too. And so before we get started, we always like to launch a couple polls to step back, see how everyone is doing today. This first one is going to ask, how are you feeling? Fearful, anxious, surviving, or optimistic? I'll just give it just a couple moments here for folks to respond. Thank you, thank you. Awesome, I'll give it one more moment. All right, I'm going to end this poll and share these results. Awesome. Looks like optimism in the lead, but definitely have some feelings of fear, anxiety, and surviving. So I'm very hopeful that our topic today will be helpful in alleviating some of those feelings. I'm going to stop sharing this poll and launch the second one. What is keeping you up at night? Finance, sales, marketing, scale, pivot, team, or surviving? And this one just tells us a little bit more about your current needs as an entrepreneur, so we can make sure that our programs and resources continue to be meaningful to all of you. Awesome. We got folks from DC, California, Massachusetts, Uganda, Texas, Zambia, lots of California and Texas, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Nigeria, San Diego. Welcome, welcome. So great to have you all joining from all over the place. Azerbaijan, awesome. All right, I'll give it just one more moment. Awesome. All right, Trinidad and Tobago, Virginia Beach, Colorado. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. I'm going to end this poll and share these results. All right, it looks like finance and marketing kind of coming up in the lead together, but needs all across the board. So thank you all so much for participating. And without any further delay, please join me in giving the warmest welcome to our special guest, Julia Kraft, founder of Speak to Inspire Coaching. Julia, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us. Super excited for today, and I'm going to pass it right over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. It is so good to be here. Let me share my screen and start our workshop. So we're here today to talk about elevating your entrepreneurial presence. So everybody in the chat box, give me a thumbs up if you can see my PowerPoint and you can hear me and we are connected. Just let me know that you're there. Thank you. Yes, I think you're hearing me. You're seeing everything. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Anita. All right. We're here to talk about your entrepreneurial presence. My background is as a public speaking trainer, communication coach. I help people develop confidence and I help smart professionals like yourself feel they have big, great ideas to come across confident when they speak. So, we're here today to dive into your entrepreneurial presence. By the end of this workshop, what you're going to learn is how to increase confidence when the spotlight is on you, which can be a big speaking moment with a big audience. It can be a one on one meeting, like a pitch or an interview. Then we're going to work on how to think on your feet, think on the go, on the fly, when the pressure is on, and you can still sound like a credible expert even if you're not prepared. And then we're going to talk about how to inspire others to take action through your strong executive presence. All right. Does that sound good? Is that the kind of stuff that would help you grow your business and get ahead as an entrepreneur? I know that we were talking about finances and sales and marketing. This is definitely going to help with that. So today you're going to learn concrete techniques to apply in your next important communication moment, things that you should be able to use right away. Of course, you're going to get an opportunity to ask your questions, and you'll learn about a next step opportunity if you need more support. Hi, I'm Julia Kraft. I'm a speaker. I'm the founder of a public speaking training company called Speak to Inspire. So I totally understand the entrepreneurial journey. And I'm an introvert. I always just like to call that out, especially I'm in San Francisco with all the techie people. There's a lot of nerdy entrepreneurs out here and that are more introverted. If you're an introvert, shout it out in the chat box. A lot of times introverts come up against their introversion and shyness and some performance anxiety when they're in the spotlight. And I definitely understand that. I'm a trained actress, though. Back in the day, I studied at Emerson College. I have taught hundreds of live workshops for companies like Viva, Salesforce, Samsung, Oracle, etc. Hear me teaching a bunch of workshops over the years, and I've supported thousands of one-on-one clients. So it's my pleasure to bring my expertise to you for entrepreneurial presence. As an entrepreneur, you are the face of your business, the voice of your business or your product or your brand, and the thought leader and vision holder of your business, product, and brand. At a certain point with every business, for every founder and entrepreneur, the business, the product, the brand comes down to communication skills instead of product features. You feeling me on that? Let me know in the chat box. At a certain point, it comes down to your ability to communicate the value, communicate the opportunity. It comes down to that, especially as you grow, right? So let's set it up. Some initial, the vocabulary to get us started, lay of the land. There are two parts of communication. This might be obvious, but when we're training as communicators, we need to train these two parts and train them slightly differently. So there's verbal communication, all the words that you say. And then there's nonverbal communication, which is everything other than the words that you say. Write in the chat box for me some examples of nonverbal communication, some examples of nonverbal. What are some things other than your words that are impacting, affecting your communication skills? Yes, Enzo, posture, eye contact. Thanks, Barbara. Vera, nodding. Yeah, all the facial expressions, right? Tone, absolutely, Rupa. Yes. Thumbs up, hand gestures, right? Yeah, Anita, winking, sure, that's part of eye contact, right? Anything like that, facial expressions, intonation, emphasis, the tone of your voice, like she said, pitch, volume, pacing. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on, including like the clothes you wear, the background behind you. I mean, all of it goes into nonverbal communication. There's a lot in nonverbal communication. Now, where do you tend to spend the most time, verbal or nonverbal communication? Write that in the chat box for me. Where do you tend to spend the most time preparing for important communications, verbal or nonverbal communication? Verbal. Okay, got it. I want to hear from a few more people. Yeah, okay, George, verbal. Alicia, verbal. Yeah, this is what I hear. And a lot of communication trainings are going to help you craft the perfect pitch, craft the perfect wording. I just want to call out that I am going to talk about verbal communication today, but I'm also going to spend a good bit of time on nonverbal communication because I'll show you later how important that is to your ability to communicate effectively. Okay. There are two parts of confidence. So as we build your entrepreneurial presence, confidence is an essential part of that. There are two parts of presence: external presence, what people see, they perceive from the outside, she looks confident, and internal presence, which is your belief about yourself. And this can be very different. She might look confident on the outside, but on the inside, she might be really doubting herself. Tell me if you relate to that. Maybe you're inside doubting yourself. Who knows even what it looks like on the outside, but you're inside and there's some doubts, there's some fears, there's some anxiety when you get into the spotlight. And please tell me I'm not alone in this, because I've had my fair share of performance anxiety, public speaking fear, the nerves, the butterflies. Yes, too often. Yeah, I mean, this is really common, and we're going to get into that now. What is it like to be nervous in the spotlight? What is it like for you? Bring that to mind, a moment in the past when you experienced nerves in the spotlight, fears, anxiety. Yeah. Anita's relating. Yeah. Poker face, but my palms keep sweating. Yeah, totally. Well, let's explore it a little bit. Your nervous system, which is how your body relates to stress, communicates with you through physical symptoms. Physical symptoms. So some common physical symptoms are heart racing, you can almost like hear your heart beating, sweating, tight muscles, you get really rigid, blanking out. Maybe that happens where you can't remember that thing that you prepared for hours and hours. You're rambling, stumbling over your words. A bunch of fillers can be part of this too, ums and ahs. Flushed cheeks. Oh, that's so unconscious, right? It's like we can't control it. The shaky knees, wobbly voice. Please tell me in the chat box, what are your symptoms, your physical symptoms of nervousness? How does it show up for you? And what I hope that you'll start to see as people put this into the chat box is that it's really common. And we all have our own version of how nerves show up. And it's very human. It's very human. Wobbly voice, sweating. Yep. Dry mouth and sweating. Dry mouth. Okay. Gosh, that's why I have my water here. Always good to have water when you have an important communication. Yeah. Cortisol levels go through the roof. How do you know that your cortisol levels are going through the roof? What are the symptoms of that, Rehab? Yes, sweatiness, stumbling over words, oversharing to produce silence. Yeah, these are great. Great. So everybody's saying sweaty. Yeah, that's a really common one because it's the adrenaline, right? Like he said, cortisol, right? It's the adrenaline running. Deliriously animated and laughter, giggly. Yeah, that's a good way to handle nerves, or is a common way. Managing nerves is a really important thing to master if you want more confident presence as an entrepreneur. Your body is speaking louder than your words. And here's the statistics on that. This is from a study called the Dr. Fox study that was done back in the 70s, been done many times since then with amazing results. What they did is they brought in a big audience and two speakers to speak to the audience. And afterwards, the audience was asked questions like a survey. Who did you like more? Who did you trust more? Who did you think was more knowledgeable? These kind of things. So our first speaker is a doctor, a real doctor, PhDs, years and years of experience, stands behind a podium, gives a presentation of what he's known for in his field, right? Pretty much reads off of his script. Our second speaker is an actor that they hired to read a few articles of the real doctor a few days before the presentation, present on what he knew, which of course was much less depth of knowledge. How could it be, right? But what do you think our actor did differently? Our actor moved around the stage, looked people in the eye, had lots of energy and charisma. Yeah. So afterwards, when the audience got this survey, who do you think that they chose? The doctor or the actor? Write that into the chat box for me. Actor or the doctor? Who do you think that they chose as more trustworthy, more knowledgeable? These kind of things. The actor. Yeah, maybe you've heard this one before, but yes, the actor. And so the statistic that came out of this is what the audience was responding to in the actor was 93% nonverbal communication and just 7% words. If we look at this graph here, 55% nonverbal, what they mean by that is body language, the things that the audience could see from the body, and 38% tone, what the audience could hear through the speaker's voice. So that adds up to 93% of things other than the words, and then 7% the actual words. Yeah. Does this change your perspective about how you're approaching your presentations? How are you going to manage your nerves so that you can master your nonverbal communication for confident presence? Nerves are normal. Let's just set that up here from the beginning. Speaking before a group is considered the number one fear. And if you look down this list of fears, death is like number 7. So I love this, that Jerry Seinfeld quote. I won't do it justice like he does, but he says, if this statistic is true, if we're all at a funeral, we'd rather be in the casket than up giving the eulogy. And there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that, right? When a tiger is chasing you, there is no time to think. Can you imagine that? Like, if you feel like you're under siege, you're about to die, there's a threat. There's no time to think. You shut down like this little kid at the microphone. There's a freeze, there's a shutdown. So let's talk about the process the nervous system goes through. There's 3 levels to the autonomic nervous system, how we deal with stress. Stay and play mode is where we all want to be. Like, okay, we're engaging in life, right? Things are happening. I'm connecting with people, but I don't feel threatened. So I'm able to stay and play. This is where we want to be. But as soon as we perceive a threat, the nervous system clicks into fight mode, going to fight back against this threat. And then flight mode, if I can't fight, I'm going to run away. Yeah. And if you can't run away, which public speaking you usually can't, because it would be very inappropriate to just run out of the room, right? Well, you freeze, you go numb, collapse, shut down. You're just sort of surviving, like getting through. So which mode do you go into when you're put in the spotlight? Are you more in your stay and play mode? Do you end up in fight and flight, feeling like you want to run out the door? Or do you end up in freeze mode, sort of getting through and surviving? Numb, Anita, got it. That's the freeze mode. Yeah. Anybody else? What are the mode that you end up, the level of the nervous system that you end up in? Yeah. Okay. Marina, got it. Yeah. So we go through these in our nervous system without even being aware of it. I'm going to take myself off screen share for a moment. How do I stop that? Here we go. And we're going to do an exercise together to regulate your nervous system when you're in fight or flight or freeze mode to bring you back into the most likely to be able to come back into stay and play. So do this with me. If you are multitasking right now, put down your phone, close other tabs, stop eating if you're having lunch. Just pause, relax your arms in your lap, lean back in your chair or whatever you're sitting on, and soften your eyes. So that means you could look just a little bit downward towards your table, so you're not really looking at me. It could be that you close your eyes, but we're just going to soften our eyes so that they're not outwardly focused. And I want you to notice that you're breathing. You're breathing right now. And take a deeper breath in. Notice what it feels like to breathe in. And then take a full, complete breath out and notice what it feels like to breathe out. Simple. This brings your mind and therefore your nervous system back into the present moment where actually things are safe right now. There isn't a threat, right? You're safe. So we're going to do an exercise together to super, super slow down your mind, your body, and your nervous system. Just follow my counts. Here we go. Exhale completely. Inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out your mouth for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out your mouth for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last breath, inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out the mouth, exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to natural breathing rhythm. And notice the impact, the effect of that exercise. What's different for you now than it was even just a minute ago before doing that? And when you're ready, type that into the chat for me. I would love to know the impact of that exercise on you. So simple, can be so powerful. Calm, Barbara, fantastic. Present, awesome. Calming, calmer, yes, relaxed. I love it. I'm so glad you had that impact. I mean, imagine if you took more time for that, it would make a really big difference for how you show up with your speaking. All right, I'm going to share my screen again and we'll keep rolling. So once you are masterful with your nervous system and able to calm your nervous system so that your body is more expressive, right? And all of that, we got our nonverbal communication working for us. Then we got to look at our content. And that's where improvisation comes in. When I say the word improvisation, what do you think of? Put that into the chat box for me. What do you think of when I say improvisation? What comes to mind? Are you thinking about like Second City or improv classes that you've gone to? What are you thinking about? Unscripted, says Hazel. That's a great definition. Yeah, speaking off the cuff. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page with this. I wanted to make sure. Yes, hand gliding. That's cool. That's going to make sense, Nelson, in just a moment. I'm going to come back to that. That's perfect. Okay, so improvisation, yes, it's about speaking off the cuff. It's about, being in a flow, not necessarily planned or scripted. And what I want you to get out of what I'm saying right now is that improv structures is what you need, structures, so that you can think on the fly and sound credible. This allows you to practice getting into a flow state. You get used to what that feels like, and then you build trust with yourself. There's also this mindset, maybe you learned this in an improv class if you took it, the attitude of yes and. Yes and. So whatever happens, okay, yes, I'm going to say yes to that, and I'm going to move forward positively, adding something to it. Yes, and this attitude in of itself is going to help you manage nerves as well, because there isn't as much of a resistance like, no, but no, I meant to do it this way, right? Can you see the tightness that comes over me when I have that attitude? Yes, and positive, moving forward. Isn't that refreshing to have that attitude about life in general? And of course, about our communication moments when they're really high stakes. Can you imagine how this mindset would help you? So I'm going to teach you a structure now, really simple structure that you can use literally for every communication moment throughout your day, personal, professional, all of it. It's not brain surgery, but I promise it makes a huge difference if you can use this. Part number one of our structure, by the way, it's called bookending because think of a book, right? There's covers, front cover, back cover, and then there's the middle, the body of the book. So the front cover of the book is tell them what you're going to tell them. You could call this an introduction. Tell them what you're going to tell them. And then the middle of the book, all those pages, is tell them what you're going to tell them. And then the back cover of the book is tell them what you told them. Now, this might seem so simplistic that it's even hard to figure out how do I use this. Now, I'm going to do a little example here. So go ahead and type into the chat box any random topic that I could talk about, not about speaking, but any kind of random topic that comes to mind, anything, and I will improvise with it. Got it. Okay, I will grab, oh, Vera says coffee. I will grab coffee because that's on my mind right now. Okay, so having coffee in the morning with a bit of coconut oil or MCT oil has been shown to improve your health and longevity of life by 6 years. So coffee in and of itself has a nourishing, filling effect to your belly. When you add the coconut oil, it gives you the omega-3 fatty acids, the healthy fats that your body needs. But if you're not eating anything with this kind of coffee with the oil in it, then you're staying in a kind of fasting state and the body has a chance to repair. It's a great way to start your day, and it really helps the body to heal and repair on a regular basis so that you can have longer life. So like I said, try having your coffee in the morning with a little bit of coconut oil or MCT oil instead of having a full big breakfast, especially a breakfast full of carbohydrates, and see how you feel throughout your day. That's my version of the bookending structure. totally off the cuff, improvisation. So what did you notice about how I use this structure? Write that into the chat box for me. What did you notice about how I use this structure? Thank you, Anita. Appreciate it. How did I use this structure? Was the structure really obvious? Was it helpful? Did it help you understand what I wanted to say? Building on it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was focused, right? There was one thing that I was talking about, one key point, like almost like a thesis that I'm proving, and I drive it home. Did you notice that I repeated myself? Helpful. And I noticed the repetition. Yes. Yes. Of course, it was about coffee, right? But yeah, the repetition. Repetition is not a bad thing when it comes to speaking. We might be afraid of saying the same thing twice, but if you are on point with the key point and repeating that regularly, then that increases retention of information for your audience, and they're going to actually remember what you said. Yeah. So that was a very short version of the bookending structure. You could make this much longer into a whole talk or presentation, whatever. But can you see how this would be helpful? This is a simple improv structure, one of many that I teach, that can really help you organize your thoughts on the fly in the moment with no preparation. Yeah, we're going to do a practice of this in just a little bit. So hang on to your hats with that. Now, who said it before about being on a cliff? Let's talk about how to handle those moments when you feel like you're on the edge of a cliff, you're about to fall off, oh my God, and you're blanking out, I can't remember, or I can't think of anything, right? So common, so normal. I just want to normalize it from the beginning here. That will happen when you're improvising. Expect it, be okay with it, and use this strategy to manage it, to handle it. Number one, when you are on a cliff and blanking out, pause. Instead of using filler words or ums and ahs, or just like, putting a bunch of circling words in there, pause. Allow a pause. And in that pause, breathe. Calming allows your mind to work, right? Then you can have some thoughts, and hold eye contact while you're pausing. The audience won't even know that you're completely lost. They won't even know. They'll just think that you're being very purposeful and confident. Yeah. So sometimes we may not feel calm, but we can project it. And then, of course, use your breathing to bring yourself back to calm. Now let's transition into executive presence. This is all building, right? When we manage our nervous system, support our nonverbal communication to be effective, and then we use improvisation to organize our thoughts instead of scripting. We don't want you to sound like a robot. Then we can start to explore the realm of executive presence. I want to share with you what executive presence is not. It's not being the loudest person in the room. It's not having the most to say. It's not having the highest title or knowing everything. So please don't feel that pressure, right? You just don't have to have these things. What if connection was more important than perfection? If you take away nothing else from this presentation, I hope you get this, of just like allowing this inquiry of what if connection was more important than perfection when I am in a high stakes communication moment? Executive presence is about certainty, projecting certainty non-verbally. We talked a little bit about that so far. Aligning with certainty internally, that's that mindset, and speaking certainty into being. This is the thought leadership, the vision holding that I was talking about. A lot of times as an executive or as the founder, CEO of your business, you have a big idea. Yeah. You have a vision and it doesn't exist yet. Right. So you speak it into being. Our voices are so powerful. Let's go over some verbal tips to project certainty. Speaking complete sentences. Complete sentences have a period at the end. Right? This will help you avoid circling, rambling, and really increase the retention of information that you share. Yeah. Be concise and direct, similar kind of thing. Have your sentences be short as opposed to with lots of commas in them, ellipses and stuff, like concise and direct sentences. take a stand and assert your thought leadership. So when you're choosing what to say, I encourage you to be more direct. Yeah, to be more direct about what you have to say, and it's like take a risk a little bit by saying fully what you believe. This is when executive presence comes forward, simply through your attitude of certainty. Let me know if that's helpful. If this is interesting to you, just give me a thumbs up or a high five in the chat box. Is this something new for you? Something that feels challenging for you to have certainty? Yeah, okay, thank you for the thumbs up. These are not easy things, and I'm going quickly through it, right? Tips. A lot of times these tips, these techniques are things that need to be worked on in a more individual basis, right? Your topic, working with your mindsets that maybe are blocking you from confidence. But this is where I would want everybody to get to, that they naturally speak in complete sentences that are concise and direct, and they're willing to take a stand and assert their thought leadership. Okay. Nonverbal tips to project certainty. So everything other than your words. The first thing I want to highlight is raise your energy. Too much of the time, I see speakers in general, especially techie, engineering, sciencey kind of people that are starting amazing companies. When they speak about what they do, they sound completely bored. They sound like they don't care. They sound like they're checked out, when I know that you care. I know that you believe in what you're doing, right? I'm sure you do, but we need to feel it. So raise your energy. Some tips to get to a higher energy state before you speak can be as simple as do some jumping jacks, before you go live, or do some jumping jacks in the bathroom before you go into the meeting. Do the power pose, Amy Cuddy's power pose kind of thing. Take some deep breaths can help raise your energy. Put on some fun music, have a dance party. How can you raise your energy, get out of your head, and really express the enthusiasm and passion that you have for your topic? There's a lot to that, but that's just like the general tip, right? Raise your energy. Make sure your intonation goes down at the end of each sentence. This is called down gliding, as opposed to up lilting. When I speak in complete sentences, it's better if my intonation goes down. Do you hear that? I went up and down, right? My intonation goes down. Can you feel the difference? What is the difference that you feel when my intonation goes up and when my intonation goes down? How does that affect you? Right? I'm so curious. Low. Okay, I'm not sure. How does it impact you? Like, what is the feeling you have about me? What is your opinion of what I'm saying when my intonation goes down? It's the end of the sentence, right? Like, that's clear signaling to the audience. This is the end of my thought. Yes. And you start to, yeah, there's that rhythm of anticipating what's next. It's not forced. Oh, nice. Yeah. A lot of times, I would say that if your intonation goes down at the end of your thought, you will come across more certain, more confident, more assertive, not in a forceful way, right? That's not what we're talking about. You don't have to be forceful to have executive presence, but certainty, this sense of this is the truth. I believe this. You can trust me in this. Yeah, certainty. If in doubt, like say you get nervous, you get thrown off, a great way to handle it is to smile, have warmth on your face, and make eye contact, just like we were talking about with the cliff strategy, right? If you feel a little off center or something goes differently than you planned, smile, have a warm, open, yes, and attitude, and make eye contact, connect with people. This is how you'll find your place again. And you'll usually find it through connecting with the other person, as opposed to going up into your head trying to figure it out over here. Yeah. I hope this is helpful. Some of these things are counterintuitive or maybe new habits that you have to build, but I promise they will send you in the direction of entrepreneurial presence, executive presence. Now we're going to practice. We're going to do a quick little exercise. Let me stop the share. Okay. We're going to do a game called the expert game. And if we were all in person, or if, we were all in a video, this would be super fun to do in groups. But we're going to do just you by yourself doing your own personal expert game. Remember when I improvised a few minutes ago? Yeah. This is your personal version of that. So remember what that structure was? Who remembers what the book ending structure was? Can you put that into the chat? Book ending structure. This is a test. What is the book ending structure? This is a test. Maybe you took notes. Step number one in the book's ending structure. Oh, Hazel's a rock star. There it is. Okay. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them. Love it. There it is for you in the chat. Okay. I'm going to give you a topic in a moment. It's going to be a random topic. You might know a lot about it. You might not know anything about it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just you. Nobody else is going to hear it. I want you to improvise around this topic, a 1-minute little talk using the book ending structure. You ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to do your improvisation. I'm going to put your topic. Okay, you all are ready. Your topic is horses. 1 minute. You're the expert on horses, even if you don't know anything about them. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. I'm going to be quiet. Go ahead and speak to yourself out loud, your expert game. Start to wrap it up. Okay. Let me know in the chat box how this was for you. Did it come naturally to use the structure? Maybe the topic was challenging. I chose something that was really out of left field on purpose, because this wasn't about you actually being an expert about something, but just jumping in and improvising and letting your mind flow. That was awkward, says Barbara. I know nothing about horses. That's great. You can make stuff up, for the purpose of this fun exercise. Just use the structure. So what was it like to use the structure, book ending structure? Was it helpful? Hopefully it helps you organize your thoughts. Got it. Thanks for your sharing. Started talking about equine therapy. Go for it, Monique. Stumble on the last one. So the last one is a conclusion, right? That last step is a conclusion where you basically mirror back to the first step of tell them what you're going to tell them, right? It can be almost the same. Intro, conclusion, little bookend, right? And feels complete. Yeah, great. I mean, this was not about knowing anything about horses. I don't know that much about horses. It's just a topic. I'm going to share my screen to wrap it up for today. Okay, so here we go. Today, we talked about these 3 things, and I hope you got a lot of value. We talked about how to increase confidence when the spotlight is on you, including how to reduce nerves, right? We talked about how to think on your feet when the pressure is on and still sound like a credible expert because you're organized, you're prepared, you got your thoughts together. How to inspire others and take action through your executive presence, both verbally and non-verbally. Yeah. So go ahead and write into the chat box for me. What are your biggest takeaways from this training? What are the things that really made an impact on you and that you know that you're going to use in the near future? I would love to hear what your takeaways are. And as you write those in the chat box, I'm going to share about a next step with me and some of the impact that this work has had on other people that I've worked with. Shannon's a great example of somebody that had scripts because she was nervous. She planned every word out in eloquent paragraphs. And she said using the tools that I taught her helped her to manage her panic and stay calm. So she has small waves of terror instead of a debilitating tsunami. Great metaphor for that, right? Melina got promoted to leadership after being told that she came across young when she spoke. And she says, after working with me, she felt like a completely different person, spoke more confidently, more intentionally. She's a brighter and more confident her. I love it. And Essie also, her public speaking used to be her number one fear. But then after we worked together, she sent me a note that she had spoke to 400 people, a live audience, and felt comfortable presenting in front of them. She actually had fun, and she just felt like it wouldn't have been possible without working with me. So thankful. Okay, let's see what the impact was on you all. Awesome. Structure and voice tone down at the end of the sentence. Glad you got that. Barbara says spending more time preparing for the nonverbal side. Oh my God, that's a huge mindset shift. Importance of breathing exercises. Great, Anita. Nelson lowering my voice at the end, intonation at the end. That seems really impactful. Good. Executive presence stood out for me. Good, George. Okay, book ending, good. Voice control, preparing for nonverbal side. Yes, I'm so glad you got this. Handling freeze moments. Perfect. That sounds like really, really valuable stuff. Okay, so now, I would be a bad coach if I didn't offer you a next step from here, because this is a foundation, a beginning, some general tips and tools. But really, when it comes down to speaking, it's about your personalized challenges and your unique content, right? So I'd like to offer you the Speak to Inspire session, which I hope will be the most valuable 30 minutes you'll spend this year on your professional development. In this session, we're going to clarify your goals around speaking, and I'm going to give you personalized expert recommendations for how I see you could accomplish your goals. We'll clarify a plan for you of how you can get there. And then we can talk about Speak to Inspire programs and see if we're a good fit to work together and what that would look like. So the link is going into the chat. Oh, great. Anna already put it there. Go ahead and open that link in your browser so you have it when we hop off in just a little bit. Open that link up in your browser and see if you qualify for the call. There's just a few questions there about what your challenges are, what you want to work on, that kind of stuff, so that I make sure we're good, well aligned in the first place, that I can even give you value on the call. There's a few session spots open for the next few days, I think into the beginning of next week. So if you would like support and some personalized conversation around your speaking, make sure to grab that spot right now. So go ahead and open that link in your browser. It'd be my pleasure to speak with you and support you in any way that I can. Thank you so much for your presence here today. I want to give you a round of applause for all the work and learning that you did, and say thank you to Michelle and Anna and NASDAQ that brought me in. I'm here for your questions, anything beyond the presentation or going deeper into what we talked about today.
Awesome, Julia. Thank you so much. That was such an awesome overview. And we do have some questions rolling in. So yeah, if you're in the audience and you got one, make sure to drop it in that function at the bottom and we can jump right in. So I know we talked, a pretty good amount about confidence, and we have a couple entrepreneurs, that struggle with motivation. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on, just kind of activating that motivation in um, for critical opportunities, and to avoid, behaviors like procrastination and even just avoiding the direct spotlight itself. If you could just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's easier to, stay behind the computer screen and get little things done, right? Than turning on the camera and speaking. It definitely is. So I guess I want to first of all acknowledge that is a truth. It is challenging to put yourself out there. It helps, it like you confront yourself and your fears and sometimes your insecurities and vulnerabilities, whether that's fears about your business or personal fears. So let's just acknowledge that and have some compassion for the fact that that's challenging. And then I would really encourage you to be proactive with how you support yourself. First step would be that mentally understand the importance of visibility. Like I said way back at the beginning of the presentation, you are the face, the voice, and the thought leadership, like the vision holder of your business. If you're the CEO, the entrepreneur, nobody else can do it but you, really. Especially if you have a personal story related to what you offer, nobody can say it like you do. So mentally just get sold on the fact that this matters. Then also realize this is a mental thing, but realize that speaking is the number one marketing strategy. It has way higher ROI than spending money on like Facebook ads or, marketing stuff. Oh my gosh, much larger ROI. You're instantly seen as a credible expert just because the spotlight is on you. I mean, if we can understand this more when we're physically in a room, the speaker's up on a stage, right? They're elevated, they're set apart from the audience. Immediately they have credibility, even if everybody in the audience is just as credible as them, right? The speaker automatically has credibility. So uh, anytime you can get on the spotlight, that's going to be the most valuable marketing that you can do. And a lot of times it doesn't cost any money. So if you're struggling financially, like do a bunch of Facebook lives or YouTube lives or whatever, like you have a speaking gig at your fingertips at all times in our modern world. So there's no excuse to not be in the spotlight other than, like you were saying, procrastination and fear of the spotlight and, our own personal challenges, right? So that's the like more mentally sell yourself. And then the last thing I'll say is on a more nervous system level, support your nervous system through self-care practices to be able to handle it. So that could be, if you're introverted, making sure you have introverted time. Yeah. So you might spend your morning playing video games, to be honest, or watching your TV show, or, doing your yoga or whatever it is, so that you have the energy to be super visible and out there for maybe an hour. And then you go right back to your introverted stuff, right? So just know that it's not forever. It's just that moment, right? And we can support ourselves to have the energy. I could go on and on about this. I think it's a great question. It's a really big challenge, and something that I think also, like in the call, we could discuss your personal challenges with it. I could give you more specific recommendations.
Love it. Awesome. That's super helpful. Yeah. And we have another question here. I know we have a bunch of first-time founders in the audience, and for those who are looking for that right first opportunity to really get in front of the right audience, any kind of suggestions for, just identifying the right speaking opportunities and moments for communicating your business and what you do?
Finding opportunities, creating opportunities. Yep. It's more on the strategic side of things, more on the business side. And, as a fellow entrepreneur, I've done all that too. So I totally understand that as a learning curve, and also a challenge as an entrepreneur. It's sort of like people do cold calling. There's like cold emails and cold calling with getting speaking gigs. But I just want to say, as a concept, the best way to get speaking gigs is to have speaking gigs. That's it's a little tricky, but okay, so let me make this really simple. You show up for a networking event, virtual or in person, and you have an opportunity for 30 seconds to introduce yourself, whether it's to the group or one person one-on-one. That is a speaking opportunity. And it's those kind of small moments that will lead to somebody saying, well, you should really talk to my people. My team would really get a lot of value out of this. Could you come by sometime? And then somebody at that gathering, however small or intimate, they'll say, you know what? My brother has this company and you would be great to talk to them. So it just starts to get a momentum of its own. Don't get in your head about, like, I have to be on some big conference stage. How am I to get my TED talk? Whatever, start small. Like I said before, lead with your thought leadership, have a big idea, and look for the right places where people value it. And it's just going to start snowballing.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah, the power of word of mouth. Super, super impactful for a lot of entrepreneurs. And yeah, I think that's really awesome advice, and just getting started and building that community, and you'll find those opportunities, or they'll find you, which
They'll
is really
find you. Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Awesome. And we have another question here that I think is interesting. We talked about a little bit about breathing to be calm. Any advice for, how to kind of get your energy up, how to kind of get excited for what you're talking about, and, help others get excited for what you're talking about?
Yeah, so what that question is speaking to is your state of being, the state that you're in when you enter a room for a conversation, when you walk up onto stage, when you pick up the phone, the state that you're in. So, how do you get excited or passionate about what you do? Well, first of all, I hope that you are passionate about what you do and that you care about it and you see the value in it. And if you don't, there might be something a little off about, like, I don't know if it's worth investing your whole life into starting this business, but I think it's safe to assume that if you're an entrepreneur and you're taking the risk to like put your life into getting this business off the ground, you care about it, you're passionate about it, you know it's going to make a difference, you see the value, and all you're trying to do is communicate the value at this point. So I would say get sort of hyped on how amazing your product is. Read some testimonials that you have, talk to people that got value out of it. Let yourself be totally hyped about it, and then walk into a room with that energy of, my product is amazing, what I'm doing I know is going to change the world or change the industry, or it's going to make such a difference. Bring that into the room, and people will feel it immediately through your nonverbal communication. They won't even know, like, before you even say anything, you walk in, you're like, okay, I've got something, let's talk, right? That's a good attitude to bring in.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Awesome. And we have another question here. I think this is interesting. We have some entrepreneurs that may be working on initiatives or businesses that are, difficult for customers to talk about, whether it's, something
Yeah.
that has to do with financial or healthcare. Some things are hard for customers to talk about. And so, any advice for entrepreneurs, who are kind of, looking to have these conversations with customers or potential investors who may be, uh, avoiding those kinds of conversations either due to stigma, or their own personal fears about, the issue that at hand. Would love to hear your thoughts there.
Right. So, well, first of all, I just want to address Moss, who's messaging right now. Go here. There's the link again to schedule. So make sure that's available to everybody.
Awesome.
Uh, so I heard you in terms of audiences that maybe have some resistance or objections, fears, and also just lack of knowledge of what's possible, perhaps, too. So this gets into the realm of sales, which of course is an element of communication. I wouldn't say that I'm a master sales trainer, right? So I just want to call that out as a disclaimer. Yeah. But I also have built a business over the last 10 years to six figures. And, so I have done thousands of sales conversations. And I'll tell you my perspective from doing sales conversations and having been trained by really fantastic sales trainers. Okay, so when someone has an objection or a fear or resistance, it's a communication, sometimes unconsciously, that they actually are really considering working with you or are buying your thing. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good sign. So don't let it stop you. You should actually lean in and be happy that they have an objection. It's hard sometimes to feel that way, but like, celebrate the objection. Like, great, totally makes sense that you have that fear. Let's talk about it, right? So don't let it stop you. It's an opportunity to continue the conversation, continue exploring together. Your ability to navigate objections or fears or resistance will equal the amount of sales that you get or the amount of people that say yes to you.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of sales trainers that teach about handling objections. There's tons of techniques around it, but I think that's the attitude or mindset to bring to it that could just help it move forward and already be easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, yeah, really great advice. And yeah, just setting the foundation for those kinds of conversations. Wonderful. I think we have one time for one more. So I want to touch on this last question. Some people may not have super bubbly or energetic personalities. They may be more low key. Any advice for entrepreneurs who, that just their personality may not be as bubbly and energetic, and still kind of, engaging and really activating that entrepreneurial presence.
Remember the slide that I said that you don't have to be the loudest person in the room? That's not what executive presence is or entrepreneurial presence. You don't have to be, the most knowledgeable person in the room or the most extroverted person in the room. Think of somebody like Steve Jobs. Great example. A total introvert, a total geek. If you look back at videos of him from early in his career when he was just going out there with like early Apple products, he was a really bad speaker,
Yeah.
really bad, really boring, like really bad. And he got better and better and better simply by doing things like holding eye contact, like really connecting his eyes with the audience, sort of toning down his body so there wasn't so much fidgeting. Now, he did a lot of that early in his career. Moving on purpose on stage, speaking in short, direct, concise sentences that were punchy, like memorable sentences. If you watch some of his last launches, you can really see how he's doing that. So he's a great example of the classic founder CEO, that doesn't have that huge bubbly personality, but he shows up with certainty of the value of what he offers. He shows up with his thought leadership, right? Really owns the fact of a vision, right? A vision for the future. And lets himself be who he is, has confidence in his authenticity. I will say, caveat, you do need to have energy. And I think Steve Jobs is a good example of that too. He has a lot of passion, but he's not like bouncy about it, right? So have energy, but be yourself at the same time.
Amazing. Julia, this has been so wonderful. If you had just one key takeaway or piece of wisdom that you wanted to leave with the audience, what would that be?
Hmm. Well, I'll just remind us all of the what I said in one of my slides, that what if connection was more important than perfection in those high stakes communication moments? What if connection was more important than perfection? What would you do differently? Yeah, great thing to keep in mind.
Love it. Julia, thank you so much on behalf of the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center and everyone here today. We are just so grateful that you joined us.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, NASDAQ. Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. And yeah, we'll share those links in the chat, so keep checking over there. We'd love for you to join us again for upcoming webinars, which you can view using those links that are going to be posted in the chat. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We look forward to welcoming you back online with us soon.